Now, I want you to listen very carefully what this woman is about to say, and because she's not outright saying it, but it's obvious. She's telling you without telling you. But the ancient Egyptians were clearly African. It's African culture, it's African language, what we call black people. But we know that most Africans are not black. Some Africans are black, but the majority of Africans are light brown to dark brown, very diverse. But just listen to what she has to say, and then you'll see that these people have a habit of telling you the truth, but you have to work it out yourself.
Culture, you find exactly the same motifs repeated in the very sophisticated Egyptian art form.
The Egyptian god Anubis has become one of the most recognizable symbols of ancient Egypt.
This is Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of embalming and the guardian of the dead. And his likeness was actually used by the ancient Egyptians in mask form, in the form we see in front of us, during the very sacred rituals of the funeral. In funerary rites, one of the priests would wear this exact same mask and perform the magical rituals which would enable the dead to live again in the afterlife. And I find it really fascinating that in the Saharan cultures we're finding petroglyphs of human beings wearing jackal masks, almost dog-headed figures in fact, at least 1,000 years prior to the emergence of Anubis in ancient Egyptian mythology.
You hear that? So definitely the ancient Egyptians were African. Saharan cultures, 1,000 years before the ancient Egyptians had Anubis in their mythology. But Anubis represents actually an actual person. It's an actual person that's doing mummification. That's in charge of the dead. That's it. It's actual real person. It's not a god. God is a word. You could say God is like ancestor. When the Egyptologists talk about ancient Egyptian gods, it's their ancestors. These are actual people. The animal heads represent a certain characteristic of that person. That's it. That's all. They're not these fantastical beings, these supernatural beings that, live in the sky, live in the earth and stuff like that. No, it's ridiculous. Right? So this is an African culture. It's a black culture, what we call black people nowadays. It's our culture. But yet somehow these outsiders come in and say that whatever they want. But as I said, sometimes they tell you the truth, but you have to work it out for yourself. She didn't outright say that, hey, yeah, so the Africans, ancient Egypt, it's an African civilization, it's an African culture. It's not from the Middle East. There's no jackal heads that we know of that's in petroglyphs in the Middle East. And then all of a sudden they come down to Africa and set up shop. No, it's in Africa.